This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Thursday, the 13th of February, so glad you could join us. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll visit with Sam Trainor of agmarket.net to talk about what happened in the closings today. But first, we're going to talk with Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net, a regular also in our closing market feature. But him and I had the chance to sit down and talk about the cattle markets here earlier. And we're talking about the fact that we've seen such a volatile high marketplace over the last couple of months on something that just seems to never have a bottom in sight. But something in the last week to 10 days, we're starting to see that shift and starting to see a downward momentum. So we asked Mr. Baldwin to explain to us what's been going on in the market so far.
Yeah, we've had some extremely volatile markets across both the live cattle and the feeder cattle market. And, you know, the market over the last several months has just been extremely bullish, and it seemed everywhere you looked, from the fat cattle side of things to the feeder cattle side, that everything was just bullish. And it for the longest time, it seemed the only thing that was bearish was everything was so bullish. And we made new all-time highs on both futures and cash trade. We've seen the managed money crowd go to new record long positions in both live cattle and feeder cattle. And here, for the time being, these markets, they put some highs in. It was right at the end of January 29th to be exact, and we made new all-time highs for the futures market, and we've reversed off of that, and it's been extremely violent. I mean, over the last couple of weeks on the way down, and we've had several days where it's been, triple-digit losses, and I really don't see that changing here anytime soon from the standpoint of the extreme volatility. I don't see this volatility changing. We've even a couple days here recently along the way had some, sharp triple-digit rallies, only to come in the next day and the funds are selling them. So that's kind of what's been happening over the last couple of weeks anyways across the futures market. Has just been, we've seen this a pretty good size sell-off. I mean, February live cattle made their contract high at 209.35. Today's settle, it was a pretty quiet day actually. We were down 52 cents for February, but we ended the day at 199.15. So we've seen it's been an abrupt $10 correction in the live cattle market.
So I asked Ross, what is causing this sudden bearish turnaround, and what the news is that's kind of putting pressure on the markets right now?
When you look, I mean, the futures market essentially has started this correction, and cash trade over the last 2 to 3 weeks has really softened up. We got up here in the north. I mean, the cash really peaked out. It was around 212, but for that week it was a lot of 210 to 212 was the averages that were trading. Southern trade, I mean, it got up to anywhere from 207 to 208. And the South, I mean, this week we've lost a little bit over the last couple weeks on the cash trade, but I mean, right now the South, they've traded some cash around 203 here today. The trade across the North it's been really quiet. The Packers were bidding 203, but they really haven't got any business done. So you've seen the cash market soften up on the live cattle market. The border, the Mexico border that was closed for feeder cattle imports recently, that had a large driver, I mean, of what rocketed these feeder cattle futures higher. I mean, when they closed the border down, it was mid to late November when they closed that border for feeder cattle imports due to that New World screwworm. Feeder cattle went on about a $25 rally when the border was closed. And here it's been within about 10 days ago that they reopened that border. So the Mexican feeder cattle, they are being imported back into the country. And we've seen that weigh on the feeder cattle index down in especially the southern feeding regions. And so you get the cash feeders starting to soften up a little bit. You get the cash fat market, it's starting to soften up a little bit. And then another thing that kind of has carried a negative tone is the Packers they've been losing a lot of money here, running deep into the red. And there's been a lot of chatter that they were going to start to slow their production down here recently. And they actually they stood in and ran harder than what a lot of people thought. But here over the last couple of weeks, they've really started to pull the reins in on how many cattle that they're slaughtering every day. Last week's slaughter was around 584,000 head, and I think by the way it looks here this week, it looks like it's going to be a sub 580 slaughter.
And that again was Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net. We're just getting started on that commentary. We'll have more coming up in the Tuesday edition of Ag Matters PM. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, Sam Trainor of agmarket.net once again joining us to do the closing numbers. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. We're back on Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and time to talk with Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. Sam, what did we see happen in those grain markets today?
Well, Dustin, there really wasn't a whole lot going on today. We traded both sides of unchanged and couldn't quite make out a direct path, although we did finish just marginally higher on the three major commodities that we follow here, corn, beans, and wheat on the grain side.
Any particular reason why there wasn't much action? I mean, it's not that I'm complaining that we don't have a crazy volatile day, but is there anything kind of keeping things held in check right now?
Well, this morning we had weekly export sales, and they were very strong for both corn and wheat. However, it was quite the opposite on soybeans. Soybeans disappointed at a marketing year low at 185,500 metric tons. So thought that maybe that could shoot us a little bit lower, but we're sitting right at some very critical support in the soybean contract. That 100-day moving average has served as, in the past, you look back at the charts, it served as very heavy resistance on the way up. We get up to it and then fall back down. But now that we've been able to get through it and trade above it for about a month now, it's held as pretty good support on the few times that we've come back down to it. And right now we're sitting right at that support. So today we did hold there, which was nice to see, especially for those wanting prices to go higher, which I'm sure is most everyone listening to this podcast or this video here. So yeah, we'll look to see that remain the case and have that hold and maybe get a little bit of a bounce into the weekend tomorrow.
All right. And then kind of moving over to the livestock side of things, Sam, I know cattle they've had a swing back and forth through the last couple of days. I mean, what did we see happen in cattle and hogs today?
Had a strong day on the cattle markets. Hogs took it on the chin a little bit here today, but the cattle markets, it's been one to just make you scratch your head. We were at all-time highs there not too long ago. Funds are extremely long in their position that they are holding, and saw some pretty volatile trading here recently with them selling off, and then you're back up. And today in the feeder cattle market, we were up about $3. So it was a very strong day in the cattle markets here today. Look for that to continue. It almost feels as if the funds were maybe taking a little bit of profits and they're satisfied with what they've done so far. And the fundamentals have not changed much, if at all, in the time period that we've been in here, where we've seen this volatile, choppy trading action. So wouldn't be shocked to see maybe that market continue to trend a little bit higher, get back up near those levels that it was at just a couple weeks ago.
Now, we talked earlier in the program with one of your colleagues, Ross Baldwin, about what's going on in the cattle market, and he was saying that cash trade has been kind of soft. Did we see anything develop today during the day?
No, I would just echo what Ross was saying there. It has started to get a little bit softer, but no new developments throughout the day that I saw anyway, Dustin.
All right. Well, if folks want to talk to you guys at agmarket.net, get some insight, maybe think about some of their market strategies, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way would be to visit our website at agmarket.net or give us a call here at normal 1-800-779-1515.
All right, Sam, we thank you so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Dustin.
And that was Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at those closing numbers for you. You can find them online at the Iowa AgNet market screen. At the close, March corn was up 3 1/4 at $4.93 1/2. Soybeans up 2 1/4 at $10.30 even. Soybean meal down $1.40 at $2.92.70. Soy oil 59 cents higher at $46.25. Chicago wheat up 3 1/2 at $5.77 3/4. Kansas wheat up 6 3/4 at $5.98 1/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up 2 cents at $6.16 3/4. Oats down 1 1/4 at $3.31 3/4. On the Merc live cattle up 40 cents at $199.55. Feeders up $3 at $267.97. Lean hogs down $1.22 at $93.10. Pork cutouts unchanged at $96.10. And Class 3 milk is up 11 cents at $20.33. And that's been our market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, X, and on this YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you're notified each time we put out a new video project. Also, don't forget about the podcast channel. You can get openings, middays, closing markets. You can also get Iowa Ag Matters, Weekend Ag Matters replays, and even the full conversation that I had with Ross Baldwin about this cattle market. You can find that all under the podcast tab at iowaagnet.com. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Andy Peterson, Mark Magnuson, and Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.